King David, a man after God's own heart, was not without his failings. One such failing was his sin with Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. David, blinded by lust, committed adultery with Bathsheba and then orchestrated Uriah's death in battle to cover up his sin. God, however, saw everything and sent the prophet Nathan to confront David. Nathan came to David with a parable about a rich man who unjustly took a poor man's lamb. David, enraged by the injustice, declared that the rich man deserved to die. It was then that Nathan spoke the piercing words, "You are the man." David was caught. His sin, hidden from man, was laid bare before God. Nathan's words struck David to the core. They were not merely an accusation, but a mirror reflecting the ugliness of his actions. David had abused his power, betrayed a loyal soldier, and desecrated the sanctity of marriage. He had sinned not only against Bathsheba and Uriah, but also against God. The confrontation with Nathan marked a turning point in David's life. It shattered his complacency and forced him to face the gravity of his sin. David could have denied, justified, or minimized his actions, but he chose a different path, the path of repentance. David's heart, hardened by sin, crumbled under the weight of Nathan's words. He acknowledged his transgression, saying, "I have sinned against the Lord." There were no excuses, no attempts to shift blame. David recognized the depth of his iniquity and took full responsibility for his actions. True repentance involves not just confession, but also a change of heart. David's repentance was genuine. He was not merely sorry for being caught, but truly grieved over the pain he had caused. He cried out to God for mercy, begging for forgiveness and cleansing. Psalm 51, written by David after his encounter with Nathan, is a poignant expression of his remorse. He acknowledges his sinfulness, pleads for God's grace, and vows to live a life of obedience. David's repentance, though born out of sorrow, marked the beginning of his restoration. God, in his infinite mercy, forgave David. However, forgiveness did not exempt David from the consequences of his actions. Nathan declared that the sword would never depart from David's house, and there would be trouble within his own family. Sin, even when forgiven, has lasting consequences. Nathan's prophecy of judgment on David's house was not a punishment for a repentant heart, but a natural outcome of the chaos David's sin had unleashed. The consequences of sin often ripple outward, affecting not just the sinner but also those around them. David's family, once a symbol of unity and strength, was torn apart by strife and tragedy. David's sin had sown seeds of discord that yielded a bitter harvest of pain and suffering. The judgment on David's house serves as a stark reminder that our actions have consequences. Sin always exacts a price, not just on ourselves, but also on those we love. It disrupts our lives, fractures relationships, and leaves a trail of brokenness in its wake. The consequences of David's sin were immediate and devastating. The child born to him and Bathsheba became ill. David prayed fervently for the child's life, fasting and lying on the ground for 7 days. His desperation and grief were palpable, a testament to the depth of his love for the child. Despite David's pleas, the child died. David's grief was profound, yet he found solace in the knowledge that he would one day be reunited with his child in heaven. He said, "I will go to him, but he will not return to me." In the midst of his sorrow, David found hope in the birth of another son, Solomon. Solomon, whose name means peace, was a gift from God, a sign of his enduring love and forgiveness. David's story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, God's grace is sufficient. While David faced turmoil within his own family, his army, led by Joab, was engaged in a fierce battle against the Ammonites. Joab finally captured Rabbah, the Ammonite capital, and sent for David to deliver the final blow. This victory over Rabbah marked a turning point in David's reign, signifying the end of a tumultuous period and the beginning of a time of peace and prosperity. David's capture of Rabbah foreshadowed a greater victory yet to come, the establishment of Solomon's kingdom. Solomon, under David's guidance, would rule Israel with wisdom and justice. His reign would be a time of unprecedented peace and prosperity, fulfilling the promise God had made to David. The story of David's trials and triumphs in 2 Samuel 12 is a powerful reminder that even the greatest of kings are not immune to sin. It teaches us about the importance of repentance, the consequences of sin, and the enduring nature of God's love and forgiveness. Moreover, it points us forward to the ultimate King, Jesus Christ, who would one day come to establish his eternal kingdom. Are you ready for the next chapter? Just click here to go straight to it.